David Berkowitz, aka the Son of Sam, is one of the most infamous real-life villains in American history. Now he's back in the mainstream thanks to a chilling new Netflix documentary, and his true story is more disturbing than the version you might know. Who knows if we can believe him, but according to Berkowitz, the first domino that tilted him toward madness was a destabilizing realization about his own origin story. As detailed in Conversations with the Killer, the Son of Sam tapes, Berkowitz long believed that his birth mother died giving birth to him. That belief changed in 1975, the year before he began his infamous killing spree. That's when Berkowitz, who was adopted, set out to find his birth father and started attending meetings put on by ALMA, the Adoptees Liberty Movement Association. The group, which still exists today, helps people find their birth parents. At one of these meetings, he got an unexpected reaction when he said that he was sure his mother was dead. Everyone started laughing, but why? As Berkowitz himself said,
and they said, well, we were all told the same thing. And somebody said, yeah, they're probably just dead. She's not dead.
Sure enough, after some investigative work, he found out that his birth name had been Richard David Falco and that his mother's name was Betty Falco. Not only that, she was still alive and living in Queens. Days after he dropped a letter in her mailbox, she agreed to meet him. And while we don't know the full details, the reunion didn't go the way he'd hoped.
I don't know. She tries to be kind of phony, you know.
The real kicker, though, was that he found out his real father was married to someone else when he hooked up with Betty, which means that David was born out of wedlock. This deeply affected him in a negative way, so much so that he used it as an excuse for setting out to commit heinous acts of violence.
Felt like this was what I had to do. Like I felt I was getting revenge.
While it isn't true for all of the deaths attributed to Berkowitz, he often targeted couples, specifically couples who were sitting in cars together, unable to run, and oblivious to their surroundings. This MO can at least partly be attributed to the guilt and rage he felt after finding out how he was essentially the unwanted product of an affair. It's also been posited by experts that he struggled with intimacy issues and had a fear of the opposite sex. David Abrahamson, a Norwegian psychiatrist and psychoanalyst who studied Berkowitz, wrote in a New York Times article back in 1979, he was afraid of women and afraid of being rebuffed by them. He didn't dare approach them to satisfy his sexual desires, yet to counteract his conscious and unconscious fears, he still had to show them that he was powerful. His gun was the solution. He could overwhelmingly demonstrate his power without touching them, without being rebuffed. Whatever the complicated reasoning for his affinity for targeting couples may be, it's terrifying to think that something as innocuous as sitting in a car together was all Berkowitz needed to single a couple out as targets.
Many of those that prayed for Valentina today will also be praying for her boyfriend of 3 years, Alexander Esau.
Berkowitz's motivations for his killing spree are more or less understood now, but they were a total mystery when he was still on the loose in New York City. This was made especially terrifying by the fact that Berkowitz used to leave behind disturbing letters at his crime scenes. Far from sober confessions, they were instead frightening demonic screeds with hints of the supernatural.
When a psychotic person sends you a demonic letter directed towards the police, yeah, that's daunting.
The most famous aspect of these letters is his frequent mentioning of a figure called Sam, and that he was essentially doing his bidding, as one of them reads, "I am the son of Sam. I am a little brat. When Father Sam gets drunk, he gets mean. He beats his family. Sometimes he ties me up to the back of the house. Other times, he locks me in the garage. Go out and kill," commands Father Sam. After being arrested and confessing to his crimes, Berkowitz claimed that Sam was a 6,000-year-old demon disguised as a black lab named Harvey, which belonged to his neighbor, Sam Carr, hence his moniker, Son of Sam. Of course, no one really believes this. Everyone thought he was either making it up for attention or completely insane. Turns out, it was more a case of elaborate fiction than delusional psychosis. Berkowitz later admitted that all of the Sam stuff was bogus. As he wrote in a letter to his psychiatrist, Dr. David Abrahamson, "Sam Carr and the demons, yes, it was all a hoax, a silly hoax, well planned and thought out. I just never thought this demon story would carry out so much." One of the most terrifying things about the entire Son of Sam case is that Berkowitz allegedly wasn't finished with his spree when the police finally caught up to him. According to a New York Times article from 1977, police claim that Berkowitz had some disturbing things to say as he was being hauled away in handcuffs outside of his home in Yonkers. Apparently, he told them that his original plan was to go on a shooting spree with a submachine gun inside of a Long Island discotheque that very evening. According to the officers, he said, "I wanted to get killed, but wanted to take some cops with me." And this probably wasn't all talk. While the police found the .44 caliber Charter Arms Bulldog he had used to commit his previous crimes, they also found a handful of other weapons, including a Commando Mark III semi-automatic rifle. He had purchased it legally in 1976. Though no one else was ever officially implicated in the Son of Sam slayings, it's long been alleged that Berkowitz didn't act alone. Among those who believe this are some policemen who worked the case, the prosecutor in Berkowitz's trial, and journalist Maury Terry, who thinks the crimes were part of a massive conspiracy that extended far beyond New York City.
Maury wasn't the kind of a person who, if he got simple yes and no answers, accepted those answers and moved on.
He detailed this theory in a sprawling book called The Ultimate Evil: The Search for the Sons of Sam. While much of what he claims is labeled as far-fetched, the part about Berkowitz not acting alone is hard to just totally toss aside. In a conversation with Terry, Berkowitz claimed that he had fallen in with a satanic cult around 2 years before he committed his infamous crimes. According to him, they would gather at Untermeyer Gardens in Yonkers and carry out rituals, animal sacrifices, and other unsavory deeds. He also claimed that some of these cultists were planning on committing murder as a means of bringing on chaos. When asked by Terry if this is what spurred on the Son of Sam murders, he said, "Well, yes, definitely." Of course, Berkowitz is a known liar. Still, it's worth noting that James Rothstein, a member of Vice in Manhattan, confirmed Berkowitz's claims of cult activity at Untermeyer. While investigating this area 5 years prior to the Son of Sam murders for a different case, he claimed to have discovered evidence of animal sacrifice, ritualistic drawings, and other things that, he claims, pointed to cultish activity. Berkowitz went on to tell Terry that he was only responsible for 2 of the 8 Son of Sam shootings, and that other cult members were to blame for the others. While he didn't offer up names for all of them, he claimed that John and Michael Carr were responsible for 2 of them. If that last name sounds familiar to you, it should. They were the sons of Sam Carr, his neighbor who had the dog that Berkowitz initially claimed was a 6,000-year-old demon in disguise. Both sons died not long after Berkowitz was arrested. John died of gunshot wounds in 1978, and Michael died in a single car accident in 1979. While stranger things have happened in this world, some believe this to be way too much of a coincidence.
You got John Carr, Mike Carr, all suspects dying accidentally.
The Son of Sam killings were so sensational that the state of New York enacted the Son of Sam law in 1977, the same year Berkowitz was arrested. Essentially, it prevents criminals from making book or movie deals and profiting from their crimes. Under the initial version of the law, victims were given a set number of years to sue and receive whatever money was earned by the media in question. The law was eventually challenged by book publisher Simon & Schuster in 1991. They sued the New York Crimes Victims Board on behalf of Nicholas Pileggi, who had written Wise Guy: Life in a Mafia Family, with the help of convicted organized crime figure Henry Hill. The Supreme Court ultimately decided that the law was unconstitutional, with Justice Sandra Day O'Connor stating that it violated First Amendment rights, so the book went on to get published, and it was eventually adapted into the classic Martin Scorsese film Goodfellas.
It's gonna be a good summer.
In 2001, the original New York law was amended so that victims could sue convicted criminals for any income they received behind bars, not just money earned from books or movies or what have you. And in 2023, lawmakers attempted to amend the law once more in an effort to stop Asa Ellerup, the ex-wife of alleged serial killer Rex Heuermann, from publishing a book about the crimes he's accused of committing. As for the rest of the US, around 40 other states have some version of this law. The first thing you think of when you hear Son of Sam probably isn't devoted Christian, but according to the man himself, he is now. At some point after he was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison, Berkowitz converted to Christianity. The killer told Daily News in 2012, "I want people to see my God is a God of miracles. If he can save somebody like me, he can save anybody." And during an interview with Inside Edition in 1999, he said,
"I was just into a type of thinking which I believe that later on in life, Christ had completely set me free from."
Many would say it's uncomfortable to hear this kind of outlook from a convicted serial killer. Some would even argue it's a frightening act of fakery, but some experts seem to think Berkowitz really has changed from the person he was during his reign of terror. For instance, Dr. Scott Bond, who teaches sociology and criminology at Drew University in Madison, New Jersey, told CBS News that his 2013 meeting with Berkowitz was largely a pretty pleasant experience. Not only did he have what the doctor described as youthful energy, Bond found him to be, quote, genuinely warm and engaging in person. Bond told the outlet, "He told me that he loves God and all people. He expressed deep remorse for the horrible crimes of his youth, including his numerous murders and many acts of arson that he committed. David wishes that he could undo all the harm he has done to others, but knows that he cannot." Another terrifying thing about Berkowitz is that he's actually been able to seek parole for some time. Because he was sentenced to 25 years to life in prison, this option has been available to him since 2002. Of course, he's been denied 12 times now. The most recent one was on May 14, 2024. No further details about the denial were provided by the Board of Parole. While it's definitely horrifying to think about walking into your favorite grocery store and realizing that none other than the son of Sam killer is the one bagging up your groceries, it goes without saying that the possibility of someone like Berkowitz actually being released is extremely slim. As of this video, Berkowitz is 72 years old and remains incarcerated at Shawangunk Correctional Facility, which is about 60 miles north of New York City.